Hey, folks, we are live. Hopefully, you can hear me well. My good microphone just died in like right before I was going to do this uh, podcast, and then now I'm using the webcam microphone. So, yay. I go through more microphones, it feels like, which is kind of crazy. But I guess now that I think about it, I have been doing this for quite a few years now, so perhaps it's not that strange that I go through that many microphones. So yeah, so I've been having a really interesting week. I got ahead of my writing, which is always a fun thing to do, and um, and decided that I was going to go off on a crazy. So the word I want to use, I don't want to use the word boondoggle, a crazy adventure, and I'm going to show you the fruits of my labors. So it came out of Monday for our scroll stopping Facebook ads class, where I noticed that one of the suggested AI image generation tools was called Flux, and you can actually run it locally if you want to. And I became pretty curious about what that really entailed. So I started digging into it and figuring out how to run it locally, and it is not for the faint of heart. It took like a day to really get rolling with it. Um, and a pretty steep learning curve with using some pretty complicated software to get it working. But I persevered, and and part of also what made me think that maybe I wanted to make my own tool was one of the things that I found while I was teaching the class or getting ready to teach the class is that like writing good prompts for image generation for ads is actually kind of a pain and a little bit more of an art than one might want to admit. And so what I found is that if you actually take like an AI tool like Claude or ChatGPT and you tell it about your book, and you tell it to go look up your blurb and all the reviews and whatnot, and then you give it sort of a template and say like, hey, I need to make images that cover these types of things. Um, Go off and make images that cover these types of, or make me prompts that cover these types of things. You can get some interesting prompts that give you some interesting images. Because one of the problems is that when like, we're telling an image generation system to make us a given image, we're not thinking about composition, camera angles, all sorts of things like that. But if we were to like have an AI that could do that for us, then boom, suddenly you can get the system generate a lot of really good prompts for you. Um, and then so that was in my head, and then the other thing that was in my head was, gee, I could start generating images locally and maybe stop paying midjourney and everybody quite so much money for everything I'm doing. Also, from a sort of a, if you're concerned about environmental impact, at the very least, if you're running them locally on your own hardware, you're paying for the power, at fair market value to do this. So that was kind of an angle that was in there as well. And so, there's a lot of people don't know what Midjourney is. A lot of people are joining and then leaving. So I'm like, what's going on? Anyway, or there's like a problem with the stream. Hopefully, it's not a problem with the stream. So anyway, what I did this weekend, or not this week actually, over the last 3 days, was actually build my own system for image generation. And I'm just going to show you guys what it looks like because I think it's pretty cool. So let me just move this screen off to the side so I can actually use the system. So it looks, a lot like your standard kind of image generation system. You've got a spot up here where you'll put your prompt for what you want. If you want to upload an image to have it be to use a given image as a starting point, you can do that. By default, it will enhance the prompt. Um, so, for example, I'm going to say I've got a text prompt in here. It says a dark-haired woman in a sundress embracing a muscular, handsome blonde man on a veranda, and that's going to give me something fairly generic. In fact, let's just like fire that off. I'm going to turn off enhance prompt, and we'll just have it make that image for us, and we'll see what it looks like. And it's going to be pretty generic. It's probably going to be like an eye level shot. Um, the lighting is going to be standard. It's what you're going to get out of something like this is like the most obvious thing that the model is going to generate given the prompt you've given it. Now, there are some things that are in every model, and you can't quite see them down here because my video is covering them up. Maybe let me do this. There we go. So you can see that we've got like steps, which is how many iterations we'll go through honing the image. But the other thing you have is like you have these samplers that kind of like tell the image how to start out. The best one for this particular model for Z Image Turbo, which is entirely open source, you can just use it and do stuff commercially afterward. So that's what I have by default. And then seed, -1 means a random. So it starts with like a random noise pattern and goes from there. So I could go and maybe change this to DDIM and then generate it again, and I might get a slightly different looking image that starts with sort of like that samples sort of default idea of what an image could look like. However, okay, actually DDIM gave me something relatively different. Oh, I had enhanced prompts turned on. Okay, we jumped ahead and we got to see that. So what enhanced prompt does is it rewrites the prompt to make it more dynamic. So now instead of just this straight on shot, we have a high angle wide shot of a dark haired woman in a rust colored sundress, her arms wrapped around a tall, muscular blonde man standing on a weathered veranda, the scene bathed in cool blue tinged overcast light with a quiet introspective mood. Unfortunately, I doubled up that test and did I'm actually just going to do the DDIM one first, and then we'll kind of skip back. So that shows you like how rather than just like default image, this enhanced prompt thing that I have built in here can make the prompt quite a bit different and give you wildly different images without you having to go through and think about things. Also, because I plan on releasing this tool to people, it also checks for images involving minors that shouldn't be made. It's a little bit overzealous, which I'm okay with, but it will generate straight up porn if you ask it to. The thing you'll have to do is if you want to get super spicy with each character you describe in the scene, you have to say they're an adult to make sure that it will build an adult image. So if you need to make, super not safe for work images, maybe for like a Patreon group for romance or something like that, or trying to get two men in a super passionate embrace isn't working, or if you need a really well hung orc for something you're doing, you can do that with this. I'm not going to do it because then YouTube will get grumpy at me, but it absolutely can do it, and you can do straight up whatever you want with this. Like I said, if you did want to do that, you have to like specify that everybody's an adult, and then you'll get past the system is for good reason overzealous about that. What you can see here, so we've got this image here. This one was done with the DDIM sampler, and this one's done with the Euler sampler. So you get a little bit of variation that way, but not a ton of variation. So now I'm going to kind of go back to what I meant to do when I accidentally made this. I'm going to turn on enhanced prompt, which is on by default, and I'm going to tell it to make 4 images. So I hit generate. Hey, Monique, and hi, everybody else. You guys can say hi, too. I've told it now to make 4 images. Starting with this prompt, I hit enhance prompt. And what it goes off and does is it writes a different prompt for each one. And not only that, the system is told like, hey, look at the most recent 10 prompts that you wrote, and then don't duplicate them. Do different prompts. So we've got dramatic overhead. This is not a super overhead shot, but whatever, of a dark-haired woman. So we got like this lighting. This one is a low close-up angle of a dark-haired woman. It keeps, so one of the things it's told, if you specify ethnic or race or ethnicity or race or anything like that, it will preserve that. So that's why it's always keeping the dark-haired woman and the blonde man, because it knows to keep that because I specified it. If I didn't specify it, it would just like be randomly giving different ethnicities and stuff like that. So done a bunch of work to make that part pretty consistent, pretty cleaned up. You do get the odd disembodied arm that shows up. It's actually pretty rare that it gives you strangely disembodied arms. Especially the Z Image Turbo model, which is free to use entirely. Ironically, the one that you have to pay money for if you use it commercially, which is the Klein ones, the faster one it has actually will give you mismatched limbs sometimes. But check this out, like we now get like a bunch of wildly different images, and if I want to like maybe I like this one here and I want to do something cool with it, I can tell it to refine it. And what that will do is it'll change what's called the seed. And the seed number is like an actual number for the random noise pattern that the system starts out with for making the image. And it will then vary that number by just a little bit. And that's how you can kind of like, it's the same thing that something like midjourney is doing when you tell it to subtly vary an image. It's just changing the noise in the background a little bit, and it will then go off, and it gave us a slightly different image. She no longer has ruffles on her shoulder and whatnot, but we're keeping roughly the same pose, the same characters, you know, they look pretty much the same. I can tell it to reimagine it subtly, and what that will do is it will very subtly rewrite the prompt. And then I can say refine dramatic or reimagine dramatic, or I can say surprised me for some fun. And each one of those will get progressively more adventurous away from what we've selected. So this was a refine on that image. This was a reimagine, and looks like all this has really done is kind of just shifted their pose a little bit for the reimagine. And it'll tell us to reimagine subtle. So this is a subtle reimagining and a subtle refine. And we kind of see, like, you know, they drifted apart a little bit. Maybe the pose shifted a bit. And now we have the next one, which is a dramatic reimagine, which means it's going to keep the description of the characters, but maybe change the camera angle or something like that. And maybe the setting, because now I think we actually see, well, we see the ground, which we didn't see before. And then a dramatic reimagine. Now apparently we can see it's already coming. He's holding her in front of a stained glass window, which is actually really cool. And the cool thing about this is this ability to sort of progress through changes can give us, okay, yeah, I was just double checking that everybody had the right number of limbs, and they do. This can actually give you maybe images you never thought of before. And maybe I'm like, oh, I really like this, but I don't like the fact that the window is broken. So I'm going to say use as input this image that I got right here. And the version of my local machine that's not quite live yet has an option for just straight up using the prompt. So I want to use this exact prompt. And I'm just going to take out shot through a stained glass window. Just take out the word shattered. And I'm going to, this thing here affects how much it like alters the image as it redraws it. 7 is going to give a fairly different image. If I tell it to do around like a 3 to a 4, chances are I'm actually going to get a pretty consistent image. And I'm just going to tell it just to do 1. It even tells me my estimated time for how long it's going to take to do this. And then I'm just going to kick that off. And then here's the surprised me. So they've just got, like, things have gotten wild. But like, I've had some surprise me's that are pretty funny. Like, one of them was this one here, and I did a surprise me and got this, which is not something I'm ever going to use. But I was also kind of like, this is pretty cool. I rather like that image. So didn't quite fully repair the window, unfortunately. I was afraid of that. I am going to be working on an edit thing that's going to let you edit the pictures, like with the brush to erase parts you don't want and whatnot. I might be able to like actually use this image as input with a slightly better window, and just like do it again, and maybe get a window that's in better shape, because it was less broken that last time. I might get it to be less broken again. So I'm curious, for those of you watching, because there's actually like a dozen of you. Everybody's on different platforms, so you probably don't see that many people that are watching. But yeah, like throw in a comment for something you'd like to see it try to make. It can't be NSFW. Yeah, the glass is getting better. But I could do this one more time and actually get the glass fully cleaned up. There's an option to like archive things if you're just like, well, this is stupid. Just archive that. Now it's gone. So you can kind of like clean up your feed of all the different images that you've made. This was a dramatic reimagining that added these very large bumble firefly things. I can just get rid of that. I don't want that one there. And then once you favorite things, it's like, ooh, I really like this, I can also just go and view my gallery of favorites that I've made. A lot of times I'll practice with like things like latex and whatnot. One, because I like it, but two, because it's like really hard for an AI to get the that stuff right. So doing that, but like some of these images are just like unbelievable, like how good these things are looking with the hair and whatnot. And this is something that you have. So I'm putting together a system to help people be able to run this stuff locally. I'm probably going to do it in school, like make a new school for it. which is like a website for teaching things, and then charge a little bit for it because I'm going to be supporting people. Like people are going to have problems. I'm going to have to give support to get this stuff set up. But if you have anything, you have to have an NVIDIA graphics card in your computer. It needs to be at least 8 gigs, and it needs to be a 3000 series or up, which is, I think the 3000s came out 2021 or something. Basically, like a $2,000 computer from Best Buy can do this. And that might seem like a lot, but if you're, thinking about like you want to generate a lot of images, you might be thinking about other AI things you want to do, like maybe you want to run OpenClaw or Hermes. A system like this could actually get like a decent amount of use. Nobody has any prompts they want me to try. I'm kind of shocked that no one has anything. Look at that. So just by having a prompt that doesn't mention cracked, and by running it a few times, just each time taking the image and using as my input, and letting it do like a little bit of a reimagine on it, like a 0.4 reimagine, I have now got to the point where the stained glass is no longer cracked, and the image, like even his hair, has otherwise remained pretty much the same throughout this whole thing. One slight downside is that her face has gotten, well, maybe it's pretty much the same, I guess. But anyway, I think that's like pretty freaking cool, right? Yeah, you should totally check it out, Monique. If you did it 5 or 6 years ago, it might have it, or it might be a little bit below what is needed, but it could be worth a shot. But like so the cool thing you could do with this is you could say like, hey, I need a certain type of image. Like I want a ton of images so I can go through them and find just the right one. So you could say, hey, generate 64 images of this type. So you'll like, put in, Pride Parade or something like that, and hit 64, queue them up and go to bed. Or do 64 Pride Parade, 64 tigers wrestling in a pond, like whatever you want, and hit them all, and then just go to bed. And in the morning, have hundreds of images that you can go through, find the ones you want, do some refining. Or maybe you're like, this is a cool starting point. I am going to download this image and now go off to Adobe Firefly with Nano Banana, upload this image, and then say something like, well, actually, I'll just take the prompt I already had, which is this. Put it in here, and then boom, generate this with Nano Banana, and maybe try to get some changes, or put it into something that can do image to video, which I'm also going to start working on building into my system as well. A dedicated machine definitely would be better. At least you don't want to be using your computer while it's doing this. I have a separate machine under my desk that is doing this. All right, so one of the things that was interesting is that the thing actually says that the image is to be shot through a stained glass window, and so Nano Banana took that very literally and actually shot the image through the stained glass window. The other model actually failed to do that, and Nano Banana actually like really listened to that. So I could just say a high angle shot in front of, there we go, and just change that. But that's sort of an interesting thing that you actually will learn between different models, that some of them just sort of ignore things that they don't quite know how to process, and other ones do. But you can, like I said, you could go and just generate a ton of these images, go to bed, and like generating hundreds of images at this level of quality with something like midjourney would be $100 easily, because all of these images are starting at a higher quality level than like your default midjourney image starts at. Every image that's generated by default in here is already a high enough resolution to use for like a Facebook ad or something like that. And then there's different sizes too. So I could take this this particular image and say I want to make it tall. I'm going to grab this prompt again. One of the things I don't have yet is if you feed an image into it, it just makes it, it's going to make it the size and ratio of the image you feed into it. I don't have the ability to change that yet. That is also coming. So I just accidentally queued up 64 of these because I had left it set on 64. Luckily, you can stop things that are cute. I can just click the old X and get rid of the things that I don't want to be running anymore. That actually took a lot of time this morning to actually get the system to be able to stop things that are in queue. But I'm glad that I did it, because I've actually never tried. I've never actually, other than some really early testing, run 64 images through. And according to the estimator, it would take 36 minutes to do that on my current hardware. So that's the thing. And you can also run this in the cloud too. Like the version I'm actually showing you right now is actually, this one's actually in the cloud, and then this is the one that's running on my desk. So that's my dev version, and then the cloud version. And I'm planning on making it so that people can sign up for this. And then you can't sign up yet. If you try, it won't work. But people can sign up for it just to try it out and decide if it's something that they want to like invest in actually setting up for themselves. And then possibly I might just eventually make just of my own version that people can just pay for and use that too as another option. Just to like make it so there's some more image generating tools out there, and ones that can do some NSFW stuff that maybe the existing ones won't. Wow, clicking X 64 times. I might need a cancel all button in here. This is going to be a bit much. So, but yeah, no one has a prompt they want me to try? Something that they want to see how well it does a certain type of image that you might want to use for your books or something like that. Look at that though. It actually was doing a pretty good job. It actually, I can get rid of all these ones too. I can just click archive all the canceled jobs. I probably should auto archive canceled jobs. They shouldn't just be hanging out here. It's not the most useful thing in the world. But I'll ignore that for now. But yeah, like we actually got, like, look at this, like by giving it this exact prompt, we actually got like a lot of images that are all really close to each other, which is a thing that you absolutely would want for doing ads, for making characters that you could use over and over again, stuff like that. So it's super useful for that sort of thing. And then on top of that, like I said, this is a little bit too small for a reel, but it'd be a okay size if you were to make it square. But I can also then upscale it by 4 times, which will make it massive, or I can upscale and enhance. So straight upscale, we'll just take it and redraw it at a higher resolution. For nonfiction, it should, well, give me a prompt, Monique, and we'll see. I'm sure it should be okay. So there's my upscale. That one actually kind of almost has like almost looks like some blood on him, just the way, kind of like the way it's shining some of the light through just looks a little bit weird. But I can also do an upscale and enhance. And the upscale is massive, like it's pretty big, but it's not like it's like when you get really high up close on the upscale, it is a little bit messy. Now that being said, it's so big that when you shrink it, you barely notice that. And it'll depend a bit, like your mileage may vary depending on the image. But if we do the upscale and enhance, it upscales, and then it goes through and does an enhance pass on the image to clean it up. So, a lot of different ways of playing with this. While we wait to see if you have actually, let me make this tall so it's a little bit more out of the way. I guess I could say like, a nonfiction book cover for finances with no text. Let's try this. I'll say enhance prompt. I can also, my negative prompt here, put like text. That should keep it from putting text on there if you want to do it later. I just had it set to 64 again. Can't believe I did that again. Oh man. I'm actually making it for most people that the option to do 64 doesn't show up if you're going to use my servers. If you run it locally, you're on your own. You can do whatever you want. But for me, I'm going to make it so 64 is not an option. So anyway, other things that are going on while I click these is, if you're curious about Facebook ad stuff, it seems like Facebook has rolled back a bunch of the changes they made in April. A bunch of the UI that sort of signaled the new version of the way they were doing things is gone, and things have reverted back. So I've been finding that ads actually have been behaving pretty well For people whose ads didn't get completely borked by the late April, early May changes, their ads have been coming back, which has been nice. But a few people there, when Facebook reverted everything, it broke their ads again. So there has been that, if anyone's been encountering that. All right, I just want to go up and see what it actually did for the ones that didn't get canceled. It's still rewriting the prompt because it's going to go off in because I wrote like a really basic prompt here, a nonfiction book cover for finances with no text. So it's going to go 64 times trying to like make a more interesting prompt for that sort of thing. So that's actually going to take a bit. I am shooketh that no one has a prompt they want me to try. Not even you, Jill? You don't want me to try a prompt? See what it can do? I feel so silly that I did 64 again by accident. And now I have to sit here and click these dumb X's forever. I guess I could actually use the other one, the local one, while it does that. Because I have this running twice. I could just do this as much as I want. Boom. And then I'll say 4 of these. So nonfiction book cover for finances with no text. And I'm actually, well, I'm just going to try this and see what it does. It actually can write text fairly well. I did like a joke one yesterday, and it wrote the text on the image like shockingly well. One of the things it does that I have found with this particular model is that with like all things being equal, it will actually give you Asian people a little bit more often than not, and that's because this model is from Asia. So if you're curious why you get that. Hey Dennis, how you doing? A clean small town romance. Anything else you'd want on the cover, Judy? So these ones are it's actually just kind of giving me straight images, which I don't think I'd want. I might need to say for finances, I also should give it like the right ratio as well. Tall, and then I'll say book cover with object art. We'll see what it does with that. Mountain Man, City Girl, clean small town romance. All right. Mountain Man. I can spell mountain. I shall say like a book cover for a small town clean romance featuring mountain Man and City Girl. One of the things you can do too is that there is sort of a global prompt in the background that says like, I think it says that you're developing images for ads, is what it tells the system. And if you want to change to book covers, you could just go and tell it, I want this to be for a book cover. So that could be something that one could modify as well. But yeah, look at that, just some lovely stock photo stuff happening here. So I don't know if one would call this good enough for book covers, but it is definitely like nonfiction. But we'll do that, and we'll just do 2 of those, and we'll kick that off and let that run. But it is interesting, like just whether or not one would think that they'd want to use any of these images. The variety I find of the images that you get can be really good for inspiration, and we'll see what we end up getting out of this. I'm going to cancel. Oh, that one's actually probably already rendering, but I'm going to cancel these 2 just so we don't have to wait for them. And then we'll see what we get with our close-up of a rugged mountain man with weathered skin and piercing blue eyes, standing in a sunlit forest clearing, his hand gently holding the well-worn leather-bound book. Okay, it got confused on that one. Yeah, that's something I might have to like. That's one thing that can be a little bit rough when you're writing with the when you rewrite the enhancing the prompts. That sometimes you get it gets confused on things like that, which is frustrating. I had worked out some prompts yesterday to do some pretty good book covers, but I could also just say turn off the enhanced prompt. So I'll say like centered in the image with space above and below, or I'll just say like negative space. See what we get out of that. Because if you say like space for text, it might just put text in the space, because you know how AI are. They tend to do that. So there'll be some scenarios where like using the enhanced prompt can and may not be useful. But like some of them were pretty cool. Like these ones are like, I just said, give me an elf in the forest, an enchanted forest, and got like a variety of super cool images, you know, and some of them made for some pretty interesting inspiration that I don't know that I would have thought of all of these. I mean, that one's fairly generic, but without it doing that. So that one's actually kind of neat. I mean, obviously this wouldn't work for a book cover, but it's kind of like it's an interesting pose that one could start to iterate on. You could just grab this text and then take away the map, maybe take away the flowers, take away the sign or something like that, and get something pretty cool out of that. Can you add a picture and go from there? Yep, you could absolutely. I probably need to stop saying it's for a book cover and just describe the image. Otherwise, I'm going to get weird stuff like this. Although the image on this one isn't terrible. It just, unfortunately, seems to be wintertime and she's wearing a toque. And calling him a mountain man, obviously, is what gives us mountains in the background. But, it's actually not a terrible start. It's probably just me mentioning it as a book cover is what's getting me into trouble there, which can happen with everything. Oh, look at this one. Is this actually going to say mountain man on it? Nope, we just get mountain mont. I probably should have said no text. But anyway, it's pretty neat. You can do some fun things with. Wow, that image actually looks pretty cool. If it wasn't for the fact that it was already on another background, I rather like that. So if I was obviously describing this properly, it would be fine. But yeah, you could upload your own image, like I did before. Like I could grab like this one of this guy, and then I could say like reimagine strength. I could have it at like 0.75, which would make it pretty different. And I'll say like a rugged assassin standing on a street looking out at his target, standing in an alcove on the street looking at his target, and then generate that. And it will make two of those too. So yeah, can do a lot with it. And like I said, if you have a computer with an NVIDIA graphics card that was built in the last 5 years, some of them aren't always built with like the newest stuff. So there is that. But got a Unabomber kind of guy going on here. But like if your computer built in the last 5 years might not have powerful enough graphics card, but it might again have it. I didn't enhance the prompt. I can do that as well. We'll see what we get as a result of that. But you could then generate images for free, aside from the cost of your own power. And this thing is going to chew up. You could probably generate 1,000 images for the electricity cost of running your microwave for 15 minutes. Is kind of like how it would actually break down. So it's actually pretty cool, I think. So we lost the gun. Oh look, there's a cop now. This looks like a cop standing in the background, ready to take him out. And one of these two, of course, like I said, with the enhanced prompt, if you don't specify like the person's race or gender, even that could change on you. But if you do specify it, then it'll stick with it. So it's pretty cool. And like I said, I'm going to be putting together a system that will help people run this on their own hardware. If they wish to go down that route, it will require you to be somewhat tech savvy. We're not at the point yet where you can just take something like this and just easily spin it up. But it's that may not be more than a year away, quite honestly. Or I'm going to be setting up a website. Like I have it set up right now. It's Outpost AI Studio that would allow you to just use mine. And I'm going to make it so like everybody who signs up can get some amount of free renders, and then eventually I'll make it so that there's a way to pay to get more. But I think one of the nice things about it too is that you can generate NSFW images. Also, you can generate images that don't show anywhere publicly. Like if you use a lot of the other tools and you're not paying a bunch of money, everybody can see the images you're making. And on top of that, if you're using the free tiers on like anything like midjourney and whatnot, you don't actually have commercial license for the image. Whereas with this, I'm going to make it so everybody can generate like for free 200 images a month, and you have commercial license to use those images. Also, you're not like, other than the power company, which here the power company is actually owned by the people. So you're actually not putting any money into anybody's hands. So you got that going on as well. Some of these are actually kind of cool. This was where I told it to do. I think it had, in my initial prompt, it had like an object or something like that, and that's probably run off now and gone down my list of 64 to the ones I didn't cancel. Yeah, it's making other ones too. So you can imagine if you spent some time working with it, you could get some prompts or get some stuff in here that would actually work for you. But man, it's actually like there's some things in here that look super freaking cool, and I would never have thought to do some of these, which is one of the things I'm finding to be really exciting about this. Wow, that is ridiculous, and I kind of want it. So that's it. I want to try the actually I want to show you guys something funny if I can find them. I was trying to do like to do a cyborg woman and get her to be consistent, and I actually got it to be pretty good, where her arms and her legs are cybernetic. And then I told it to like start varying the prompts and got some interesting things. And then I said I wanted her to have multiple arms, and I wanted her to have 4 arms. And it gave me one with 4 arms. It's like, no. If you're going to have multiple arms, you should have 6 arms. So then I thought to myself, well, then if we're going to have multiple arms, we should also have octopuses in the mix. And like I worked for a while trying to make space octopuses manning the consoles behind her. And then eventually she also became a space octopus as well, because obviously that's what should be happening in a situation like this. So yeah, I don't know if anybody actually like has a super strong need for something like this, but I kind of feel like I did. And I generate, a decent number of images. I think anyone that runs ads does. Also, if you want to like put like interior art inside your books, you could do that. And this is generating, I think, images that, like, if you look at some of like this one, I was trying to do fun stuff with jellyfish and things got weird, but like this is every bit as good as images that you would get on a more expensive paid platform. With how these look. This is like a hot. This one I showed before. I think if I open this a new tab, we can see like the full quality version of it. Like it's really crisp and sharp. And the grass is one of the things that's really hard for AI to do, which is why I was doing a bunch of stuff like that. Like it does super well. And you want to get 2 older, biracial gay men going at it? Well, they're not exactly going at it, but you could do that. Like it can just do it, and it's not going to give you any trouble with it. So I am super stoked about this. This was super fun to build. Now I have it for myself, and anybody else who wants something like this can have it too. And on top, one of the things I'm doing as well is I'm going to be building a system out of used parts to see if I can build like a really good computer for doing this out of used parts. And I think at present, because we're in what's called the Rampocalypse right now, where memory is really expensive for computers, it would cost to do like a good high-end one out of used parts, probably about 3,000 US. Maybe you could do it for like 2,500 US, depending on where you live. In Canada, I think it would cost me at least 3,000 Canadian. Maybe 3,500 Canadian to do it. So you could actually build like a high-end system that could do all this, or you could actually like go to Best Buy and like pick up like a $2,000 computer, and that would be enough to do image generation, and even like a lot of stuff on Facebook Marketplace that you're going to find for around like $1,500 US could actually do this sort of thing too. And you could have your own image generation system that over time could even like evolve to do better and better images. And I'm going to be putting in video generation into this system as well fairly soon, as well as the ability to edit. So you'll be able to take an image like this, and you're like, oh, well, I want to change what's here on the page, or I don't like how the lamp is skewed. So you could erase the lamp and then tell it to use the image. So if you erase the lamp, put the image in as your image input prompt by just clicking the button, use as input, and then boom. you'd be able to have it redraw that. So I think it's going to be really cool, and hopefully like a power to the people kind of thing that that we could put out there and make it so more people can do this kind of thing themselves. So you're going to want to keep an eye out for probably maybe even as soon as next week. I'm probably going to have the system done that will allow people to set this up themselves without having to have a PhD in configuring this sort of thing. It's going to be like in a separate school where people can sign up and there'll be support and they'll ask questions and get stuff working and stuff like that. And I think it could be a game changer for a lot of folks, making this sort of thing a lot cheaper than it would be otherwise, and perhaps open up for people the ability to start using their own AI on their own systems, and not have it be controlled by corporations, not have it be retrained on by corporations, fed back into corporations, or anything like that. It's just all using AI on your own systems if you want. And that's like been my biggest thing about AI the whole time. I'm like, our biggest problem is not AI, it's corporate ownership of AI, and corporations wanting this hegemonic control over everything having to do with AI, where their fingers in the pie everywhere, and we have to go through them for everything that we might want to do with it, because there are some things with AI that are like super useful. Oh, I could do one, honey. Interior Christmas scene with a tree and a big window. Yeah, let's do that. I still have it up right here. So and interior Christmas scene, expo scene with decorated tree in front of a big window. I'm really curious if it will actually give us like snow or anything like that. We might get snow on the inside of the tree. We'll see what happens. Because I'm just letting it go at it. I told it to enhance the prompt, so it's going to rewrite 4 prompts however it wants, and we'll see. But maybe it'll be good. Our first tree is not decorated. Oh, maybe it is going to be decorated. It's getting some stuff on it. It's getting exciting. That's a very big window that it's in front of. It's pretty chungus. So we'll see if we can get some different lighting. But we also could specify different lighting too, stuff like that. But just from like a super basic prompt, an interior Christmas tree scene with a decorated tree in front of a big window. Look at that, already getting like some pretty cool stuff. And I could probably, if I told it to do 16 of these, or just specify nighttime. Actually, let me just do that. I'm just going to specify nighttime. Nighttime. So I feel like that's what we're going to get, right? We're going to get much nicer stuff if we do nighttime. The daytime stuff is looking pretty bland. I could also specify like warm and cozy Christmas vibes or something like that. Get something a little bit better. A cat hiding inside of a tree. Snow inside is a perk, not a bug. So, which is actually like, it basically gave me what I asked for. Just give me some different shots and angles and lighting. And if I was a little more specific, nighttime, cozy living room, something like that, I would obviously start getting things more like that. So good and bad, right? Like you want it to be like, not to go too far afield from what you specified. Oops, they put the tree outside the window. I was wondering if one of those was going to happen. I think because I said nighttime, so now it thinks the tree has to be nighttime. I might need just to phrase that prompt a little bit different because it got confused by that. But anyway, I'm sure if you've used this sort of tool for a while, you've encountered this sort of thing before. So there you have it. Dan said, I did a cute 2027 cat calendar with Lulu as an add-on. So this could be super useful. I did a lot of cat stuff because cats are fun. So I did like calicos in the rain, Well, I was doing a bunch of testing. I'm just like, I just need a prompt that I can run to get results. So I did cats on a beach. And I did and then I would have it just do like 8 images of cats on a beach. Just so I could have like a fairly consistent thing. Look at that, honey. We got our snow on the tree inside, which I guess is a way that people actually do decorate their trees. send the candles outside, for better or for worse. These people on the left are going to light their tree on fire, but I guess that's a risk they're willing to take for the cool shot. And we can actually have it run off and do cats on a beach. So a lot of really cool things that you can do with this. I think, like I said, I don't know how everybody else feels. Maybe you guys think it's cool, maybe you guys think it's lame, but having the system rewrite the prompts so that you get a variety of prompts, I think is one of the coolest things. And the other, like, tools like Midjourney are doing that behind the scenes, by the way. When you get those 4 images, they're rewriting the prompts a little bit. Jill lounging beside a Disney resort. Well, maybe, but like, look at this, right? Like, I just said, like, cats on a beach, and I'm getting all of these different. Oh my goodness, this cat is like, it's splooting on a towel. So pretty neat, yeah. Cat calendars, and I'm not saying that anybody needs to like dupe anybody into getting in anything, something they don't want to, is like making AI stuff and passing off as real cat photography or something like that. But these images, they're for free AI generation models, like, they're good. They're not. You're not going to look. I mean, some of these are weird. Like, why would the cat actually? Why would the cat be sitting on a rock? The cat would absolutely sit on that rock. It would try to get its entire body on top of that rock if it could. But like the symmetry, the whiskers, the fur, like the fabric on the towel, like, that's all like really good stuff. And one other thing I found too is, like, the more you do things that the AI has been more likely to have seen and been trained on, the better the results you're going to get. As you kind of start to get further afield, like with something like this, and I specify like a spaceship command center, I'm only going to get, I'm not going to get a lot of variety in the background for spaceship command center. But beach cats, beach and cats, it's been trained a lot of that, so I can get a lot of variety out of that. So to a certain extent, one's mileage may vary based on what you're trying to get. But I think for most ad images and book covers and stuff like that, you can get a ton of content out of this. So that's where it's at. So like I said, I'll be rolling this soon, and maybe letting some beta testers get in. If anybody's interested in being like an early tester, like, not of setting it up yourself, but just sort of using the one that I'm going to put out there, feel free to send me a Facebook message. It's facebook.com/Soyarma, SOY. I'll put it in the chat, actually. Facebook.com/Soyarma. If you're on Facebook, it's going to be my profile that this is running under. But you go there, you can find me, send me a message, and I shall see if I can get you in or not. The system I have like online for people to use out there in the world costs like $800 a month to run, because it's in a data center and everything like that, and it's actually not like ridiculously powerful. So I don't think I can probably take more than like 5 people using it. But I do wonder, like, if people be interested down the road in actually signing up for something like this and paying like a reasonable price, not more money than you would pay anybody else. Like, just a reasonable amount of money. Let's try Space Cats. We'll just blood talk. To use a system that's not owned by corporations, because if that happened, if people were willing to pay to use something like this, a system that's not images that you can use anywhere, not run by corporations, and people were willing to pay for that, I could actually build out more machines, and then we would have a faster generation and stuff like that. Like, because right now it's about 30 seconds an image, which is quite a bit slower than something like Midjourney, which is probably about 7 to 10 seconds an image for like a beefy image. So let's see what we get here for our space cats. Let's probably start making some already. All right, so some of these are just going to be space cats. Cats in space wearing space suits. Let's try that. We'll see what we get out of that. But some of these are pretty cute, though. Kitty on the moon. This kitty, this is like is this Thanos, the Thanos orange or something like that? I'm going to cancel these ones so that we can get to the ones that are potentially in spacesuits, because that's what we all really want, right? We want cats in spacesuits. At least that's what I want. I don't know what anybody else wants. All right, it's rewritten the prompts and it's rendering the first image. And like I said, one of the great things too about this is that it is like protected against images making images of minors and situations they shouldn't be and stuff like that. So um, I feel pretty confident that in putting this thing out in the world and not having to worry about what people are making with it. All these cats are going to have their ears outside the spacesuits. That's always a tricky thing, keeping the ears inside the suit. They are pretty darn cute though. Oh, are these cats standing? That's just going to freak me out. I might have to say big helmets so their ears stay inside the helmet or something like that, just to be sure that we get that. But who knows? Maybe we'll get some more that are good. But something like, okay, this black cat is not like a space cat at all, but it sure is cute. I like the orange though. He's like, how did I get here? Help me. I need to get down. Oh, okay, this is ridiculous. Man, stop putting their ears outside the helmet. The ears gotta stay inside the helmet. It's gonna get damaged. You gotta be more careful. How's this one gonna look? This one might be close. Oh, it's not quite. But anyway, you could do some fun things with this for sure. There we go. I found my window again. Yeah, black cats do look like mini panthers, don't they, Monique? So yeah. So if you, like I said, if you are interested, message me on Facebook or email if you have my email or something like that. And I'll be putting out the call pretty soon for people to check it out and test it and see how they go. I'll make some videos too on how to get the most out of it, so people know like here's what to expect when you click on these different buttons, and probably add some help stuff as well. And then, like I said, like in a week or so, if you want to learn how to do this yourself, I'll actually have like a site set up where I'll teach you how to set this sort of thing up yourself, run it yourself on your own systems, and then you can even enhance it and do more with it. And it'll be entirely yours, and you can make whatever you want, and no one else would see it. It'll be 100% yours, doing your own thing. So if that interests you, do let me know. But I should jet because I have a call in like 7 minutes I need to get ready for, and I haven't eaten lunch yet or brunch. So I will see you guys later. Thanks for hanging out for my unexpected Mal made a crazy thing this week demo that she's absolutely in love with and has just been generating far too many ridiculous images. And I will see you next week. And also maybe keep I suppose maybe when I get it ready, I'll probably put a video up here and I'll make a post on Facebook as well. So you should be able to find when I have this thing about to be released to the masses. So I shall talk to you guys later though. Have yourselves a fabulous day. Bye.